All right, let's welcome everybody out today to episode 53 of Utah in the Weeds. My name's Chris Holifield.
And I'm Tim Pickett, a QMP in Utah and a medical cannabis expert, so to speak. Pretty excited about the interview today, Chris, with an extractor in Utah.
Yeah, Brent, the lab director at Wasatch Extraction. And for people that don't know, I mean, Wasatch Extraction, they make like all the carts here in Utah pretty much, right? I mean, that's what I don't think there's any place else that makes carts in Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of other vertically integrated places that are making their own carts. Like, I think Dragonfly does or Zion does. But when you have these processors, they have to get product from like Trike or from one of the other growers, and then they process it into these products that we love. And Wasatch Extraction is making some medicine that is really top notch.
And then they're doing the Fruit of Life carts as well. So we talk a little bit about that in this conversation, which was really cool to kind of put some of the pieces together.
Right. Just another interview to put the pieces together to get to know all of the different brands in Utah, all of the different processes that you're getting your medicine. And if you're interested in becoming a patient in Utah, like knowing essentially seed to sale, right, where your medicine comes from, which is something you can't do with normal pharmaceuticals. So this is a good educational and cultural interview, I thought.
Also, I want to mention, Tim, I know we didn't talk about this before we started recording, but I want to make like a little send out or a request to people. If you know of any 420 events going on, to send that in to Tim or I know you and I were going to collect some of the events and whatnot and talk about it next week on the podcast. But let's, hey, if anybody knows of any, reach out to Tim or myself. Let us know so we can talk about it on the podcast as well.
Yeah, and stay tuned next week. We'll have all of those local events. We'll have details about what's going on at the different pharmacies and the big events. It's a fun month. It's not only a recreational holiday or an adult use holiday, but I think that it's becoming a big deal even nationwide to celebrate like the cannabis movement in medical or adult use, whatever you're into.
And I'm trying to think, there was something else. utahmarijuana.org/podcast. Go listen to all the episodes there. I'm sure there's like a couple that you haven't listened to. So go check them out. Make sure you're subscribed in whatever app you listen to podcasts in. And should we get into the podcast or the interview here, Tim, or anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, let's get into it.
All right, here's that conversation with Brent from Wasatch Extraction. Enjoy. Well, let's start with Wasatch Extraction, man. How did you get involved with Wasatch Extraction?
Well, the owner, or one of the owners, Steve Gosdis, me and him go way back to high school. So we were just buddies causing trouble back in the day, and he got the opportunity to get the license. He wanted to get a grow and a dispensary license as well, but we got the extraction license, so we started there. And then I had some experience in the cannabis industry, just a little bit. And so he was like, hey, do you want to help me start this thing up? So jumped on board and super grateful. And
you're the lab director there, right?
Lab director.
So what exactly is that? Like, what's your day-to-day? What are you doing there?
Right. Well, basically, I was employee number one coming on, and I was there for myself for like the first 9 months. The first year, we were just doing CBD. And I hadn't ever done CO2 extraction or used a rotovap or a short path before, so it was really a little bit intimidating coming on because this equipment shows up and you're like, oh man, that might be out of my league. But it's just like anything else, you do it 100 times and you're like, oh, yeah, I get it, So just basically, and then once we started to pick up a little more, we got some employees on board. So I just kind of, basically I mostly run the post-processing after the initial extraction. I guess I run the CO2 machines, but generally we're doing ethanol right now. So we have Tyson McGrath doing ethanol for us, and then I'm upstairs in the upper lab doing like the rotovap or the winterizing or short path, or I do some HPLC stuff as well.
A lot of things going over my head right here.
Whoa. But yeah, but I mean, I followed you to ethanol.
Right.
I know what that is, and
cool.
I know it goes away when the product comes out the door.
Yes.
Right?
If you're doing it right, it does. Yep.
But then you're talking about, is this all still hemp CBD processing, or now you're in the medical market?
Oh, we're in the medical market. Yep.
Yeah.
So we're lucky enough to get that license as well, and then partner with some farmers. Or not, I guess you can't
license,
really partner
what
with some
license?
farmers.
Like grow license or just a processing?
No, just the extraction
license. Sorry,
but you have to like be GMP certified and all that stuff to do medical marijuana, and then you got to go through, because I think we're the only facility in the state that actually can do both CBD and THC under the same roof. But we did have to go through certain precautions to make sure there was no cross-contamination and stuff like that, kind of give that plan to the state, have it approved. But like the first year we were just doing CBD, so it was great for me because I got to really dial everything in. And now that we're doing marijuana, we're not really doing much CBD right now because the price of the liters dropped so much, it's really not worth the labor and the chemicals and stuff like that. So we've shifted full-time over to THC, but it has slowed the pace quite a bit because, as you know, there's a lack of
like product,
flower
biomass.
and biomass and stuff like that in the state right now.
Describe that a little bit so that people understand, because there are companies like Wholesome who have a license to go all the way from seed to sale, right? And there are some companies who just have grow licenses, and then they have to find other people, and so where do you get the product?
Right. Right now, we are mostly getting it from Trike right now, but they're so spread thin they can only give us so much. We were working with Oak Ridge quite a bit to get stuff from them, and they have. I haven't been to many facilities, but they have a massive facility going up north, and so they've basically decided to focus on just going all the biomass and extraction. So they aren't really doing too much smokable. So they and Tyler really knows what he's doing. I don't know if you know about Oak Ridge, but they have nurseries and stuff like that. He grew up just growing things, so he has a green thumb. Obviously, marijuana is very different, so it takes a while to understand its particular needs and stuff like that. But they are cranking out a ton of biomass, but I think they're trying to start an extraction themselves. So I think we've shifted to Trike, basically. Long story short.
I want to back up a little bit. You were mentioning how you had prior experience with cannabis before getting into this. Like earlier in the conversation, do you care to share anything about that? Like, was it here in Utah or out of state, or were you growing, or what were you doing with cannabis?
It was in California, just some small scale grows, nothing crazy. And then I was doing bubble hash for the shops out there. Small hash. Time though.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So like bubble hash is it's making a comeback, which I love. It's a solventless extraction, so basically you just freeze the biomass, tumble it around in some ice water, knock all the trichomes free and some other compounds and stuff like that, and throw it through a series of bags, and you're basically sifting through gold to find the particulate grade that you're looking for.
That's wonderful.
So
that's
great.
Pretty cool, but solventless.
Yeah. That's what I love about it. Yep.
Is that that's your favorite type of extraction, or is there a place for everything?
It's not my favorite to do because it's very manual, labor intensive, and because you're bouncing bags. But it's my favorite.
Like end product?
Yes. Well, actually, my favorite's live rosin. Live rosin is basically just a heated press. And so you can put flour in there, but you're not going to get a whole lot out for each press. But if you put bubble hash in there, it's going to ooze out just tons of live rosin. And that's my favorite stuff to use, I guess. And we're ordering all the equipment for that very soon. So we'll be bringing that to the patients. Nobody here in Utah is doing it at the moment that I'm aware of.
No, there's no live rosin then anywhere.
No.
Trust me, we would know.
Right.
Yeah, everybody would know.
Yep.
There's been a little bit of dry or hash. Is it hash resin?
Like bubble hash or...
Yeah,
they call it bubble hash because if you do it right and you hold a lighter up to it, it bubbles and sizzles.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or if not, it just kind of like burns like a piece of charcoal, a lot of plant matter in there and stuff like that. And
See, I love talking about stuff like that because a lot of times you hear it out and about, right? But you're like, I don't know what this means. You know, a lot of the terminology, and I know a lot of people that listen to this are newbies when it comes to cannabis. So it's like, I want to educate them, you know, when it comes to, you know, the different terms and words. So they're not intimidated when they're going into the pharmacies. Because I know how it is a lot of times. I mean, it was even for me the first time I ever went into my first legal dispensary in Colorado, man, I was like so intimidated. I was like, I don't know if I know all the right lingo here.
Right,
you know?
lingo, you don't know if you're allowed to talk to somebody or if you need to just stay quiet.
Yeah, so it's like
stand in line.
Yeah.
Because you used to go into head shops, and if you said the wrong legal language,
oh, get out of here.
Oh, yeah, they'd be like,
that's not
you're out
for
of
this.
This is for smoking tobacco.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And this is, maybe we're people's safe place to learn about things like that.
I want it to be.
Need that, man.
I want it to be.
They really do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so your focus, what's Wasatch Extraction doing mostly now as far as the extraction process and making products, labeling, getting it out the door?
So not only do we have the extraction license, but we also have a Tier 1 processing license, which allows us to formulate and package. So that gives us the ability to mix the distillate or whatever that end product is, or not end product, but an extraction product, mix it into tinctures, you know, formulate it into lotions or put it into vape cartridges, add terps if you want, stuff like that, and then package. So basically box and label.
So I can bring you a cannabis plant that's dried and ready and tested, and then you can take that plant and make it into pretty much whatever I need.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what Wasatch Extraction is all about.
Yeah. We bridge a lot of gaps because, like you were saying earlier, you know, you have the farmers, or the people with the grow license and the dispensaries, but we're the people that are the go-between. I believe True North got a Tier 1 as well, and they're trying to keep everything pretty much in-house. Other brands are actually loving our distillate so much that they're basically co-branding their stuff.
Yeah, white label or co-branding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They bring their recipe to you, and then they say, hey, make this recipe, put our label on it.
Exactly.
I see.
And actually, they love our recipe so much. They're like, put that in here, and we'll tweak it a little bit to make it ours. Because, you know, everybody wants their own personal touch on everything, which is great. And then, we put it into their cartridges, and it goes out.
Kind of like
a lot of people wouldn't know.
Wearing the Fruit of Life shirt, for example. You fill their carts up, right? Is that kind of...
Well, actually, the Fruit of Life is a brand.
Off of Wasatch.
Yes.
Okay.
It's our own brand, yeah.
I gotcha.
Okay, that even adds another layer to it. So you can work for other other growers and process their product like Trike, and then get their stuff out. And then you could do your own and brand it in Fruit of Life and put that out.
Exactly. So we can actually buy biomass or plant matter or flour from the growers, and we're able to do our own brand from that, which is super amazing.
That's cool. And it makes it kind of complicated in the system, because there's a lot of brands, even in the small marketplace that we have. It seems like there's a lot of brands, and then tracing that, that product back to the processor and then back to who actually grew the flower. I think a lot of people are interested in that and knowing where their stuff comes from.
100%. Yeah, There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people are very unaware of, and some people are very, they want to know exactly where this came from, and source all that stuff, which I like to too. I like to kind of know where my stuff's coming from, because there's basically the facade that the packaging and labeling is. And I started to kind of realize this once I got into this industry. Like, I don't know, Doritos, they package for lots of other people, or they give their, different recipes to other brands, but it all, there's these major processing facilities that you can go to with your recipe and say, hey, I want to make a product, will you white label it for me? And so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's just like that. It's like that in medical marijuana.
Yep.
So what's your favorite product, or what seems to be the favorite product that you guys make right now? Do you have one? Yeah,
the vape cartridges are the number one selling for sure. So
you're pretty much making everybody's vape cartridge then, no?
No. That's a very recent development that certain people have come to us and said, hey, we want to use your distillate in our vape cartridge. But there's a lot of brands out there somehow making their own. They must have obviously a processing license.
Okay.
And I know other people are trying to get in, and some people are working under our license. So they have to be at our facility. Certain brands come in. The Hyg, I think it's Hyg.
Those little chews, the cubes.
Yeah.
They're the
those
gummy
are good.
kings right now.
Yeah.
Like, they are everywhere.
Yep.
And they were working out of our facility till just about a month ago.
Oh, so you were processing those?
Yeah, they were using our distillate in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where did they go?
Yeah.
That was Oak Bridge as well. So they moved up. They finally built that part of their facility and moved it on up. So
very cool.
Yeah.
What's your do you have a personal relationship with cannabis, or I mean, we don't need to talk about that if you'd rather not. I was just kind of curious about your personal relationship. I mean, if you're a medical patient at all, or if anything like that.
Not currently one here in the state of Utah. I have been previously in other states, but I mean, I've loved the benefits of cannabis from an early age. Junior high, and I definitely do not recommend younger people using cannabis early on. Wait till you're more developed to do those things. But I just experienced a lot of benefits personally, and I was like, this thing can't be bad. Like, it does so many amazing things for me. And so I've always just kind of been drawn to it and found work in the industries somehow, and I just love it.
Very cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I think you fill in some of the gaps that we need to know about this whole system in Utah. Did any of the legal changes, do you follow any of this that have changed in like the hemp laws or the medical marijuana laws? Is anything going to change for you in 2021 that was different? Or is everything was pretty well set last year with the rules and not a ton has changed with the processing?
To my knowledge, not a whole lot's changed other than, I guess, originally, like, extraction processes like BHO were going to be off the
BHO,
table.
what is it?
Butane.
Okay, butane.
Extraction.
Yeah.
Or even bubble hash, I hear, originally was not going to be possible. But those have come through. But that was last year in 2020.
Oh, yeah. That was the concentrates when they allowed.
Yeah.
So originally, patients were not going to be allowed to access concentrates until they failed 2 other methods.
Right.
Failed 2 other methods
of ingestion.
Of cannabis?
So you could get flour, you could get vape carts, but you had to do that, and then let's say your 90-day renewal, you were going to have to go back to your provider and say, hey, this is not working for me. I need access to concentrates. And they changed that law right before things even got really going to just allow people to work with their medical provider and decide what works best for them originally, and just have access from day one. And that probably affected the processors quite a bit because concentrates, I mean, now it seems like there's going to be a better market for concentrates and people will have more options, right?
Absolutely. And I know all the patients have been asking for it, like, on the social medias and stuff like that. We've been asking, like, hey, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? Everybody's like, we want live rosin. Yeah. We want bubble hash or shatter or whatever, Yep. So we'd love to be able to offer that. So it's cool.
So what has been a holdup with like live rosin and whatnot?
I've heard it's just the biomass. It's the fact that you can't get enough raw materials to make more than just vape carts, right? Like vape carts sell, they're selling out, they're easy to make, or however hard they are to make. Like, that's all you have product to make.
Right.
Is that
kind
the
of
case?
The low-hanging fruit. It's a great delivery method, because it's easy for people. You just push a button, it tastes good. You get your medication. But, as you kind of get to know cannabis a little better, you start looking for the purest methods and, just the more enjoyable methods that give you the desired result.
Yeah, and that ends up being more concentrates and more availability. I don't know. What's your experience with concentrates?
0.
Yeah, mine not. I mean, so I've experienced live rosin.
See, and I haven't even experienced that. No.
It is, I mean, I will say from my experience, my personal experience, it is a different experience, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess the only way to describe it is like in something that you say or that people would understand would be the difference between, the nicest bottle of wine you've ever drank, and $3 Chuck from Trader Joe's
Right.
in Las Vegas. I mean, there's something
good
about
example, probably, yeah.
right. The table wine is fine, and that's good for everyday use. It's tasty, but there is just something about, like, you don't know what you're experiencing until you like drink that wine, and you're like, oh wow, this is a lot better. I know why this is more
Right.
money.
It's everything you want, basically, and nothing you don't want. It's flower itself has like so many compounds going on in it, and as you extract things, you start to isolate and concentrate certain compounds, but you get rid of a lot of the other beneficial things like terpenes, and you can add natural or synthetic food grade terpenes to your products. But I mean, it's, as you were pointing to earlier, like, it's a different experience. The live rosin is just a slightly different experience than smoking flower or vaporizing flower. Mm-hmm. I personally love to vaporize flower because you get the full spectrum, basically. Nothing's been extracted out, and also it's solventless, so it's just pure. It has all the flavor, and it's very potent, so it's a great experience.
And I would say that, like, a live rosin for a medical patient, when you get into the concentrates, this is something that we don't recommend people use all the time. It's really, from a medical standpoint, it's
why wouldn't you want to use it all the time?
Because, one, it's expensive.
Okay.
Just like simply, it's going to be more expensive than it is to buy flour, and it's stronger. And so reserving that for your really bad days or the few days after chemo, like, this is the type of thing that's best for, in my opinion. And if you can use it in those settings, then it maintains its effectiveness more and its kind of special place in the medical marijuana world. And from an adult use standpoint, it kind of is that same thing. You're reserving it for those special occasions. It's just like my analogy with the bottle of wine. I mean, you're not going to open a $100 bottle of wine every day.
Unless
right?
you can afford it.
I mean, I guess if you can afford it.
I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Right?
I'm coming to your house.
But there may be a time and a place for that sort of thing. And I like your discussion about the flower. Here you are, you work for an extractor, right? But I mean, some of the purest form of using cannabis is, putting it right at 385 degrees and putting the old volcano at 385 and filling up a bag.
Hit the button and go.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's all about finding where your tolerance is and managing it to your benefit. Like you were saying, if you're doing this for pain, you don't want to just have your tolerance through the roof, because you'll be buying so much, and when you use it, it's not going to have the same effects. Mm-hmm. So you're right. I mean, there's a lot of different products out there, and you got to figure out which one your body responds to for what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many vape carts do you think you guys make a day?
Oh, man. Well,
I mean, we're talking hundreds.
So right now we're actually hand filling each one.
No kidding.
Yeah, and hand topping each one.
Okay, let's hear more about that.
We are buying
like a Tupperware pitcher. You just fill it
it's like a glue gun with a heat source on it, and you just basically.
It's like hot glue.
Yeah, and we got a little assembly line. We can crank out. I think our record might be like 1,200 for the day. So, and that's like a very small crew. That's a crew of 3. So, yeah.
And you're not doing like any nicotine carts. You're doing all cannabis related, CBD, TH,
Absolutely.
medical. It's no nicotine.
What are they mixing it with? This is like some type of, this is an oil form. You've extracted all of the THC out of the plant, which is kind of a fatty molecule. It's a fatty, oily substance. How do you describe the THC oil?
It's very sticky, but it looks like an oil. It acts. I mean, I guess it is an oil, but it's like, man, really high potency THC distillate turns to like Jolly Rancher almost real quick.
Yeah, it almost crystallizes. So you have to mix it with something that will allow it to stay in that viscous form.
So CBD crystallizes, which is why a lot of people aren't putting it into carts. And if you find one, it definitely has some other stuff in there with it to keep it in solution. THC, we don't have to do that necessarily because it doesn't crystallize. So it just has to be hot when you put it in there. And then the heat element on the vape cart will actually heat it up and allow it to flow.
So you don't need to add anything to the THC oil. You can just put straight THC oil, like 90-something% into the vape cart.
You can, although, and I would prefer that, but everybody wants things to taste, delicious these days. So,
better taste good.
Yeah, like they want their cannabis to taste like Skittles or something. So I prefer the earthy taste. And the thing is, when you extract out a lot of those terpenes. And so you're going to get an end result that doesn't taste like what you think it might, which is why, and it kind of blew my mind when I started doing this, I'm sure everybody's adding terps, whether it's marijuana terps or, synthesized terps.
Yeah, and this is what makes it taste a little lemony or citrusy, or makes it taste a little bit more like, and then you can design, like if you buy a Jack Hare, vape cart, that's not saying that it came from that plant. It's meaning that the terpene profile of what that strain was, what the cultivar was, is what they put back in a recipe form in that. Super sour diesel is a very common one. There's a lot of them.
Oh yeah, and the thing is like terpenes have a very they're part of the beneficial effects. Certain terpenes are what's going to give you that pain relief or other effects. And so a lot of people, the connoisseurs or whatever, are looking for certain strains because they include these terpenes. And so that's definitely, I think, where the market eventually will be moved to, is like, what effects do I need, or what benefits do I need, and which strains or terpenes give me those? And you'll actually start looking for those rather than just the flavor.
And I think you're starting to see that people are looking for those more than they're looking for sativa, indica. Like, you don't go in there and say, well, one day, I think a lot of people still do.
Yeah.
But we'll move towards a time when you'll go into the dispensary or the pharmacy and you'll say, hey, I need something with beta-caryophyllene and, limonene. These are the two terps that I think are better for me. And so do you have something that has those? Instead of going in and saying, I need something that's an upper or that's good for this or down, right? You'll get a little more dialed as to what specifically works. And that can be a lot of terpenes. So do they add terpenes? Does that make it more viscous? Because the terpenes come in a more liquid form.
Yeah, 100%. Some people are adding 10% or more terpenes, which is a lot. And again, if they're marijuana grade terpenes, that might be highly beneficial. You definitely want to add marijuana terpenes over, lab synthesized food grade terpenes. But in a way, terpenes are terpenes. I mean, because the same, like you were saying, limonene, you're going to find that in limes. Mm-hmm. It's the same actual compound or terpene. It's also found in this plant too.
Learn something every time I talk on we record this podcast.
We record this podcast. I like this
because I still find the indica sativa thing interesting, because it's like I find any sativa way too much anxiety, so I always have to go to indica. So, but then people say that
what does your
that
indica
doesn't
smell
matter.
like?
What does it
do you
smell
know? Yeah,
like?
do you find that there's a smell to the indica that you're finding? Like, does the cannabis you use tend to taste similar, like when you buy indicas? And I'll bet over time.
I think so. I guess I just don't pay attention to that part of it.
Yeah, and I'll bet over time your cannabis smells more earthy, and you're using more indica-type terpenes, if that works for you, and you're staying away from terpenes that are more sativa, associated with sativa effects.
Yeah, just because I find the sativa ones give me a lot more anxiety.
Yeah. Rebound headaches come with those sativa terpenes, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you know a lot about the terpenes.
Well, we're just learning so much more about them.
Which is great about what you guys do. You guys get to sit down with people and learn about it all and like share with everybody. It's super cool.
Yeah. It's been a lot. I mean, I think for everybody really, because I think a lot of people, especially here in Utah, it's kind of like the Wild West when it comes to the knowledge, because yeah, there's, the facilities like the pharmacies and whatnot to go purchase the items. But without podcasts like this or Salt Lake City and outlets like that, there's no way to learn about it. If
nobody talks to you, then no one knows about extraction.
Yeah.
And nobody knows how to fill a vape cart. Like what goes on, right? Like we all watch the YouTube video of how this is made, right? My kids are always into that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We want to go to the farm. We want to watch it. We want to listen to it. And there's no way to know about that stuff in cannabis world, in the medical marijuana world, without talking about it, because there's no advertising. So we just all have to go out and do it without. Talk to each other.
Like you said, it's you guys in Salt Lake City, those guys that are actually the interface between the patients and the extractors, the dispensaries, and the growers and all that stuff.
So you were saying you made 1,200 carts on your best day or one day or something, right?
About 1,200. So, we might have done a little more.
How many carts? So like where we're recording, we're across the street from Beehive, for example, right?
Yeah, Beehive Pharmacy. I'm looking at their front door.
How many vape carts do you think they sell in a day? I mean, because there's not that many pharmacies, and if you could make that many in one day, I mean, are you busy every day?
If we have the material to extract. But once that's there and the testing's there, it's fill, because there are so many orders we just can't meet because there's a lack of
products.
Yeah,
I mean, that blows me away that if you're making that, if 1,200 is the most and you've made that much and you still can't even keep up, it makes me wonder how much could this state really handle?
Well, if there's 25,000 patients now,
really handle it,
and everybody's doing a couple hundred transactions a day of the 8 pharmacies that are open now, and you times all of that by how many people buy vape carts every time they go, buy one once every, maybe there's 25,000 vape carts being sold a month.
Probably more. Yeah.
This is a small, and Utah's a super small market.
Oh, yeah.
For this.
Yeah, right now it is.
So you think even Wasatch Extraction is making more than 25,000 carts in a month?
No, because you'd be making 1,000 carts every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
but across
for
the
a while there,
marketplace,
we were every day strong.
Making carts.
Making carts. We are in the process of looking for automatic filler. But there are some that have major issues, and so you really got to do your research. And it'd be awesome to pull a lever and in 30 seconds do 100 carts, and then take the die, move it over to the capper, and cap them. We're not quite there yet because, again, we just don't have the biomass to justify that purchase.
You'd fill all your carts in 2 days, and then you'd be out of work for 2 weeks.
Well, that too.
Until you get more.
Right.
We have got to get more people putting plants in the ground in this state. Or this is never going to get
Is that
fixed.
really, I mean, I know we talk about this a lot, but you probably told me what this is, Tim, but is that really all we need is just people to put plants in the ground?
I think,
or what? Do we have the growers that are just not growing or what?
The growers aren't growing. I mean, even the growers with licenses, there's only a fraction. Less than half of the growers that have licenses have enough plants in the ground to do this.
Yeah.
But it's not, I'm not blaming the growers.
Yeah, but by now, though, we should have plenty of time to get this ball going.
There are so many things along that pathway, along that supply chain that small tweaks in the beginning.
I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about the gerrymandering that went on with all the license being handed out. And I think there was some corruption in there. There's been some investigating, and there's been found to be corruption. And these licenses were
really publicized,
given to people that had no clue what they're doing.
Totally agree with this.
We've never really, I've read about it in the paper, but we've never really talked about it on the podcast.
Just because nobody will come on. I've invited a few of these people on our podcast, and I've decided not, so far, we haven't named names of the people that I've invited on, but they're not. Yeah, they don't respond.
Is it just because they don't have the knowledge of growing? Is that really what it is? They get these licenses and they don't even know how to grow.
Yeah, I mean, they were in on the permitting process and they got their applications approved, and there's actually growers that didn't even plan on growing, and were forced by the state to start a grow because the state went to them and said, okay, when are you going to grow? And they were like, well, we're just going to wait maybe a couple of years. And the state had to tell them, no, you've got to grow. Like, this is part of why we give you a license.
Even though they rejected other people that probably would have been growing right away.
Well, sure. And you know what? We all complain. We don't all complain. I don't complain about trike, but there's plenty of complaints about trike in the marketplace. But God bless them. They got
supply out there.
They got supply out there, and they have been really great at getting people flower.
And some of it's really good.
Yes, and some of it is really good.
Yeah.
And I think Zion has really stepped up their production, and they've got a lot more product going out. And other than those two, who's the other one you were talking about? Riverside?
Oak Bridge.
Oak Bridge, right? And how much grow? We need, if somebody is out there listening from Oak Bridge, we want to have you on the podcast.
Please reach out to Tim or myself.
Because we need more growers to come out and tell the story. It's a gap in our knowledge, other than like Zion and Trike.
Right.
We know them, and we know Wholesome. We know their story, and we know their process of trying to get their grow going. But other than that, I don't really know.
It's going to be tough because they literally have to be willing to like set their ego aside and admit to the fact that they're trying to learn. They don't know how currently, and they're trying to learn, which everybody does. I get it's a process, but that's what's going on is only a few people know how to do it. And yeah, you're right. People do complain about these big companies coming in and taking the market, but they can deliver. They know what they're doing.
Right. And we needed delivery. Okay, you know who I forgot that I really feel bad about because I've met with them the past couple of weeks is Dragonfly.
Yeah, they got good stuff coming out.
And they have great product, and they have really tried to do it all in-house and do it in the right way. Like you say, they've had to learn all of this stuff as they go, but they brought in really good people in the beginning to help. But Dragonfly stepped up. They had product, they had flower, faster than anybody. So kudos to them too.
Absolutely.
They've really tried their hardest to get product on the shelf for people.
Yeah.
I like those guys a lot too.
Yeah.
Have you had them in? I know.
Yeah,
on Dragonfly?
Nereth. Nereth
episode
came on
3.
Episode 3, and
cool.
In fact, we've been talking to them about coming on again because it's their 1-year anniversary. They actually won like one of the best cannabis companies to work for in the nation.
Wow.
They're women-owned and minority-owned. They do a ton for their employees. They're a very good place to work. And my experience with Dragonfly, now that I know them a little bit better, is they really like, it does seem like they like to do things in-house. They have a plan. They work hard, for sure.
Yeah, that woman is a businesswoman. She knows what she's doing. And she is a shark. She is a go-getter. She gets it done.
She does. Yeah, Hung. We
should bring her on.
Yeah, I would love to have her on. She has a fascinating story, her family story. Yeah, and I'll let her tell it. But definitely she needs to come on because their family story and Dragonfly as a whole has done a lot, I think, for the market and helping things get going.
Where do you see the future of Wasatch Extraction? Just bigger machines pumping out more carts and whatnot, or where do you see this all headed?
Yeah, we're like I said, we're purchasing equipment to get other processes going. We just want a lot of different products going out. We want the live rosin, we want the bubble hash, we want the shatter. Just we want to bring the best to the Utah patients is really our main goal. So.
What's the best way? Like, is there a way that listeners can find out more about like your products or like Fruit of Life, I guess, to find out about the carts and the availabilities and stuff? I guess on Instagram would be the best place. Huh?
I've been slacking on the Instagram, but I do plan on putting more time and energy into that and definitely trying to get back to all the messages. So that's probably the number one place they can interface with us right now. Just send us a direct message on Instagram. We'll do our best to get back to you guys. We have a very small, we just have a few employees. So a lot of us wear multiple hats. And when it's time to process, we're processing. And when it's time to fill, we're filling. And then in between, we're trying to do some social media stuff and stuff like that. So it's
awesome to hear.
If you guys ever need like temp workers or anything, man, I'm always down to like learn a few things.
Yeah, come up,
shoot me a message, say, hey, Chris, are you busy this weekend?
Dude, if you guys ever want to come by and take a tour,
I just want to hang out and learn, man.
Let's have you guys out.
We want to see, I'll come and we can post it on our social too, and we can show people how a vape cart's made.
I would
I
love
want
to
to see.
Are you in the
wouldn't
Salt Lake here, or
We're like right around the corner.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we're coming.
Perfect.
For sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
look for the how to make a vape cart video.
There you go.
Do you still run into a lot? You probably don't run into as much. Remember when vape carts got a bad name? Like they were like dirty, you know? And I mean, I guess they still kind of have a bad name if you get like street ones and stuff. But did you deal with much of that on your end or not really?
I mean, 100% because our number one selling product is a vape cartridge, and we were planning on producing that product when all that was going on.
Oh.
And from what I took from everything I learned about that situation was it was really quickly diagnosed to a limited source of black market cartridges that were putting, what was it, vitamin E.
Yeah, vitamin E acetate.
Exactly.
But there's been some concern that like MCT oil or stuff like that. I mean, are there things that Wasatch has said, look, we will not put that in a vape cart because it's dangerous?
100%. Yeah, we don't even want to mess around with it. We don't put MTC in our carts. It's literally pure distillate with very minute amounts of terpenes added to it.
Okay, cool.
So, but it's pure distillate. Other than that, we didn't want to mess around with any of that popcorn lung junk that was going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, so just keep it as clean and as pure as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it seems like everybody has kind of gone that direction. Whether or not anything else that was being added was totally safe or not.
Right. And
Might as well not add it at all.
Yeah. I mean, people are putting all sorts of crazy stuff in there, you know, and who knows what that turns into once you put it under temperature. Like, you know, it could turn into a toxic chemical that could be harming you.
That's how the vitamin E came about. It's a food grade product. It's totally okay to ingest, but once you heat it and you inhale it into your lungs, bad news.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't tested for that.
Probably another good reason to get product from somebody like yourself, you know, product that had been extracted from you, you know, at like Beehive or whatnot, because you know it's safe.
That's
100%.
Don't you think that's true too? I mean, I've never done it, but I mean, I'm sure there's cartridges off the black market you could buy.
Oh yeah.
That are like, why would you do that? That's pretty risky.
Hey, I bought off the black market carts, you know.
Have you?
Well, that way before Utah. I mean,
well, and that's what you had to do, and flour too, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's buying everything.
No, I'm all for complete legalization of all substances, but I'm all for regulation. You know, they need to be safe, and they need to be like administered the right way, and if something goes wrong, then you can help people, and you don't have the people, you know, leaving their friends on the floor dying because they're scared of going to jail, you know, themselves. Like things that are, you know, kept on the black market. You know, you're literally that money's going to gangs and cartels and stuff like that in big part. You know, those are the people you're supporting. And I mean, yeah, there's the little guys and stuff like that, but it's like, if you guys want to do this right, do it out in the open. We can all talk about it. We can all do it right.
Yeah. And I think that's happening more and more.
100%.
Yeah. It's been a fun conversation. I've learned a lot.
Learned a lot today. Anything more you want to talk about before we wrap this up, or anything more that you wanted to make sure to bring up? Or
I'm just excited that what's going on in Utah right now is going on. I thought it would be much further down the line, so it's just really cool to see it all happening. And I get that it's baby steps, you know. A lot of people are really frustrated about certain things, but it's like, hey guys, it's a process.
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah. It takes time. I mean, any state, I mean, even Colorado took years before it established. Yeah, you can go there, get cheaper products. You can go there and get more product, but they've also been around a lot longer, and they've, you know.
Yeah, they've worked this out. Well, thanks, Brent.
So give us time.
Hey,
give us time. But so go connect with you guys and see what you got going on.
The Fruit of Life Utah is our Instagram. We do have a Facebook as well, but we're most active on Instagram. But definitely give us a message. If you guys have anything you are looking for and you want us to produce, please let us know. We'd love to make that happen. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
And then utahmarijuana.org/podcast is where you can listen to this podcast and listen to all the back episodes, because there's well over 50 of them up there now.
Yeah, there's episodes there. You can find us on YouTube at Discover Marijuana.
Okay, cool.
All the podcasts are being uploaded I think we're more than halfway through uploading all of those.
Very cool.
So if that happens to be your method of choice, your delivery method,
and then connect with us on social media too: Instagram, Facebook, the whole 9 yards.
Sure.
Connect with UtahMarijuana.org, Instagram, whatnot,
and go take a listen to I Am Salt Lake.
Oh yeah, I Am Salt. I haven't talked about that for a few episodes. On my other podcast, I Am Salt Lake, IamSaltLake.com. Go listen to that. We've been. Go back to episode 420 with Tim. Tim was on episode 420.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode that I did
fun.
with him. That was over a year ago.
Where this whole thing got started.
Yeah. So, well, thanks a lot, Brent.
Thank you guys for having me. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Let's bring you on down the road.
All right, everybody, stay safe out there.